Ecocentricity. An ecocentric worldview regards all features of the natural world, including non-living entities, as equally significant. This contrasts with an anthropocentric worldview, which places humans at the center, and a biocentric worldview, which considers humans and other living organisms to have equal worth. When dominant cultures are governed by anthropocentric logics of efficiency, profit and progress, water is frequently rendered invisible, reduced to a passive role as a resource and subjected to containment, commodification, and instrumentalization. When water is neither actively managed nor contested, when it is not flooding or washing away human lives and livelihoods, it is often forgotten and assumed to be a malleable element. Thinking of or about water in such ways risks reinforcing the assumption that water is a resource requiring management and organization. Why then do we insist on thinking with water, and not, for instance, with air, plastics, rare earths, or any other material categories that shape our world? First, we are drawn to water. Water captivates us. Rivers, ponds, rainstorms, coastlines, even puddles possess an undeniable sensual charisma. Unlike other elemental substances, earth, fire, air, metal, stone, wood, water transitions between solid, liquid, and vapor states with remarkable environmental responsiveness. We experience circadian and seasonal rhythms most vividly through water's transformations, from rain to snow, from morning dew to afternoon humidity. Even otherwise invisible phenomena such as climate change become tangible through shifting weather patterns and the intensification of floods, hurricanes, tsunamis, and droughts. On slower epical scales, through acidifying oceans, altered currents, wetland encroachment, and desertification. We witness water's profound capacity to transform landscapes and ecologies. In the broadest sense, water is a shared element. If politics is understood as the practice of acting and deliberating together on matters of common concern, then water is perhaps the most exemplary political substance. It is an intimately and continuously shared matter in both senses of the term. This political commons encompasses not only those of us living today, but also all past life and all life yet to come. All rivers are living entities, entitled to fundamental rights. These rights include 1. The right to flow. 2. The right to perform essential functions within their ecosystems. 3. The right to be free from pollution. 4. The right to feed and be sustained by natural water sources. 5. The right to maintain native biodiversity. And 6. The right to regeneration and restoration. Furthermore, rivers are entitled to legal guardianship. The Declaration also extends these rights beyond the river itself to encompass the entire river basin, advocating for the appointment of guardians who act on behalf of the river's interests. If one were to ask a child, the response might be, water has the right to sing. Water has the right to choose its path. Water introduces counter-ontologies, counter-epistemologies, counter-ethics, and counter-aesthetics, all profoundly rooted in relationality, including the intrinsic connection between water and land. This perspective decenters the human subject and challenges the notion of individuality. Water is not radical because it is rooted like a tree. It is radical because it resists reduction to a single root or to simplicity. It embodies relational existence, a way of being, knowing, thinking, judging, designing, and living with. To engage with water in this way requires accommodating and following its multiplicity. The ways water moves, acts, relates, and perceives. This approach takes us beyond a language of containment, beyond rigid categorization, and into a space of regenerative flexibility, a space where order allows for fluidity and complexity. It invites us to listen for the granular grammar of water, to immerse ourselves in the translations of its countless dialects, its rains and waterfalls, its almost inaudible hush as it moves through capillaries in plants, animals, humans, and infrastructures, beneath the ground through mountain veins, murmuring, inscribing its hieroglyphs in mud and sandstone. Radical water teaches us to take water seriously, not out of fear, not because it is constructed as other or as an enemy, but because of its relational essence. Water guides the way. In doing so, it becomes radical. In its gentle fluidity and unyielding persistence, it teaches us relationality. It calls us to change, to live with water rather than control it. This transformation demands not only innovations in technology and design, but also in modes of thought, forms of action, and frameworks of engagement. Water instructs us to embed relationality in our decisions, interventions, and deliberate changes in policy, economics, and culture. Radical water teaches us to engage with water relationally because we can no longer simply take it for granted. One, clear boundaries. Defining who has the right to access water resources and what are the geographical boundaries of the water system managed by the community. 2. Rules, tailored to local conditions. Water management. Rules must fit the local environmental and social conditions, taking into account the particular characteristics of each area. 3. Collective choice arrangements. The community must actively participate in shaping the rules and decisions concerning water management. 4th, monitoring, oversight of water use and rule compliance by individuals who are accountable to the community or are members of the community. 5th, graduated sanctions, escalating penalties for rule violations, from mild warnings to heavier sanctions for repeated violations. 6th, conflict resolution mechanisms, accessible forums and procedures for resolving differences and disputes regarding water use and management. 7. Recognition of rights. External authorities and the state recognize the community's right to organize and manage its water resources. 8. Nested enterprises. Multiple levels of organization and governance for complex water systems, where local management units are connected with broader regional and national structures. Christopher D. Stone first discussed the idea of granting legal personality to natural objects in the 1970s, in his article, Should Trees Have Standing? Towards legal rights for natural objects. A legal entity cannot be an object of ownership. Therefore, ownership cannot be attributed to an environmental entity that has established legal personality. Legal standing is directly related to legal personality. Entities with legal standing, locus standi, have the right or capacity to bring legal action. Legal standing is directly related to legal personality. Entities with legal standing, locus standi, have the right or capacity to sue or appear in court. environmental entity cannot themselves bring legal action or appear in court. However, this action or legal standing may be exercised on behalf of the entity by a legal representative guardian. The European Citizens' Initiative was established to propose the adoption of a law that recognizes the right of nature to exist, renew itself, and maintain its vital cycles. We, the gods of water, we, the indigenous peoples from all parts of the world, reaffirm our relationship to Mother Earth and responsibility to future generations to raise our voices in solidarity to speak for the protection of water. We were placed in a sacred manner on this earth, each in our own sacred and traditional lands and territories, to care for all of creation and to care for water. We recognize and respect water as sacred and sustains all life. Our traditional knowledge, laws, and ways of life teach us to be responsible in caring for this sacred gift that connects all life. Our relationship with our lands, territories, and water is the fundamental physical, cultural, and spiritual basis for existence. This relationship to our Mother Earth requires us to conserve our fresh waters and oceans for the survival of present and future generations. The Indigenous Peoples Water Declaration 2023.